Hey there, welcome to the Hot Slice, the weekly podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine. I'm your host, Jeremy White, editor in chief of Pizza Today. Today I'm flying solo. Normally, I have Denise Greer, our executive editor, or Josh Cowan, our senior creative director, on with me. Sometimes Josh and Denise are together. We are on a big deadline as we near Pizza Expo. We're just a few weeks away from the 40th anniversary of the most major event in the history of the pizza industry. And as a result, we are all on a time crunch and I am flying solo. So those two can work on some other important projects at the moment. Having said that, I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. I'm really excited about today's guest. We're going to be interviewing John Arena, co-founder of Metro Pizza in Las Vegas. John needs no introduction. If you don't know who he is, you've probably been living under a rock. Here's what I'm going to say about John. One of my favorite people in this industry. He has touched so many lives. He is always a phone call away, at the ready to help anyone and everyone. He has guided some of the best pizza makers this country has, and he's just a delight, and he's a national pizza treasure, to be honest with you. John will be delivering the opening day keynote address at International Pizza Expo in Las Vegas. Really excited about that. So having said all that, I'm just going to bring John on, and you are in for a treat. Thanks for watching.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
I like your backdrop.
Yeah, I should have sent that to you so you could have put it on. It's kind of a process, but it looks nice. We designed that a couple of months ago. We've been using it for all the Pizza Expo series that we're doing.
That looks really good.
Yeah, it looks good. All right, like I said, I won't keep you too long, John. Just a few questions here, and we'll get you out the door. Good morning, John. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. I just wanted to start off by asking you. Because you've been in this business for a very long time now. Could you just kind of briefly describe your days in the pizza industry, beginning in New York before you ever came to Las Vegas?
Well, in New York, I was working in my family business, so and it was a different time. It was basically we learned everything by rote. My dad or my uncles told us what to do, and we did it, and we didn't question, and we didn't explore beyond the boundaries of our own neighborhood, and Expo changed all that, man.
Yeah, I think you had told me one time that because you are tinkering and experimenting all the time, but back in that day, that didn't happen. There was a dough formula and it was adhered to strictly, and there were never any changes to it whatsoever. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, everybody prided themselves on doing it exactly the way their father or their grandfather or their great grandfather supposedly did everything. So there was no real control over the product. It was basically whatever they did, that's what you did.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
it's a whole new world, and there certainly was not. You know, I'm not suggesting that these people didn't make great pizzas.
Sure.
They understood the how very well. They knew how to do it, but I don't know how much they all understood about the why.
Now, so
And questioning the why changes everything for you, because it gives you an opportunity to improve.
mhm.
If we see pizza as a great tradition and something worth preserving, it's beyond just worth preserving. We're not building a museum. We're building the future. So people say, like, don't you want people to do it exactly the way you did it? No, it's if you're passing on a baton, you want the person to run with it. You don't want them to just stand in place, right? You want them to go forward. That's how our industry goes forward. That's how our individual businesses go forward. That's how humanity goes forward.
I love that analogy, and I love that we're not building a museum. That's gold. I love that. So when you were in the epicenter of the pizza world, and you were learning to make pizza, you had family business available to you. Seems like there's no reason to ever leave New York, right? What took you out to Las Vegas?
For my cousin and I think the choice to go to Las Vegas was that there was opportunity. We were young. We wanted to do something fresh. We wanted to get away from the watchful eye of our parents. That was one component of it. And we thought there was business opportunity. Most of the places in New York at that time were firmly entrenched, and they were doing what they did. And we went out to Las Vegas on a vacation and really liked it. And then we had an opportunity to buy a pizzeria that was for sale with basically no money down, and the owner was willing to hold a note, which is perfect for two
Wow.
guys that had no money.
Yeah.
And we took a shot at it. And also we were definitely aware that Las Vegas was ripe for opportunities in the pizza world, because there were people from all over the country. It wasn't like you were going to some place that didn't understand what a quality pizza was, because Las Vegas was full of people from the East Coast, from
Mhm.
Chicago, from the West Coast, that would understand what we were trying to do. So absolutely, it seemed like the right place to go.
That's amazing. At what point in your career did you begin to experiment and branch out and not just do it the way you had been taught back home, but actually start, as you said, moving forward and pushing forward and being progressive? Did that happen right away?
Almost immediately.
5 years in, almost
Almost
immediately?
immediately. Yeah, because as soon as we had been these, Brooklyn-born pizza guys, and
Mhm.
New York at that time, especially, the sun rose and set on pizza, on New York style pizza. As far as New Yorkers were concerned, there was no other pizza being made anywhere.
Right.
And, um, yeah, and we had these customers that were from Detroit, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, that were equally Ohio. There was anywhere where there was an Italian American community. People from those communities moved to Las Vegas, and they all
Mhm.
brought with them their own vision of what a pizza was supposed to be. And we were shocked that anybody considered anything but New York pizza to be pizza.
Yeah.
You know, and and we found out right away that there's other valid forms out there. There's other valid expressions, and we were like, hey, if we want to be good at this, we better learn about it. And also, I had a fertile environment, because my dad was always urging us to experiment, and not
Mhm.
just keep doing what we always did.
Yeah. Yeah, you've talked in the past about the support that you've received from your father, and that's got to be that's immense, and it's got to be a huge part of your development. When did you decide to start paying homage to other great pizzas and other great pizza places around the country? Because if you walk in Metro Pizza, it's not just all about Metro Pizza, right? You see these awesome signs showing you that there are other great pizzas out there. Was that something you did right away or later in your career?
I think the real driving force behind it. There was a book by Evelyn Sloman that was
Yeah.
about pizza from around the country. It was called The Pizza Book, and it was a great book, way ahead of its time. I mean, if you looked at the recipes now, in formulas now, you would, it's not state of the art anymore. But if you think of it in the context of what was going on in the early 1980s, where nobody outside of an individual neighborhood knew what any of the local pizzas were like, it was really groundbreaking. And we got this idea that, hey, there's great stuff going on everywhere. I think a big impact for us was we had started to hear about California Pizza Kitchen when they only had one store I think it was in Beverly Hills, if I remember correctly. And somebody said, hey, there's this great place in California that's doing some really cool wood-fired pizza. And we like got in our car and drove there. And and at that time they were not a chain pizzeria. They were a one-off. And it was great. And it was great. And we're like, there's something going on here. Pizza can be much more than just tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese and anchovies or sausage. It can be like a lot of other things. And that kind of spurred us to start looking at maybe what was happening in other places. We started traveling to National Restaurant Association show and other trade shows and seeing what was going on. And then, of course, Expo came, and that just blew the doors off of everything.
Yeah, I sure did. So when you went to California Pizza Kitchen at that time, was Ed Ledoux making pizzas at the time? Did you meet him, or was that kind of
It
after
was
the
early
fact?
on. He was there, but we didn't meet him.
Yeah.
But it was early on, it was shortly after they had opened.
Ed Ledoux and Evelyn Sloman, yeah, two early pioneers. And I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered a little bit by saying that you read Evelyn's book, but there was no Pizza Today, there was no Pizza Expo, there was no internet at that time to conduct all the research. Where did
Right,
you
there was no electric lights. There was none of that stuff.
This was
I had
before
to read,
electric.
I had to read Evelyn's book by candlelight.
Where did you go for your education? Where did you learn beyond what you were taught in New York that had been passed down to you? Where did you learn all the other techniques and new things?
We started to read books about baking,
Mm.
bread baking. There were no videos out there. There was no YouTube. So and a lot of it was just ringing doorbells. Going to places and saying, "Hey, I'm a pizza maker too." And places you get the evil eye. You're here to steal my secret of how to tie a garlic knot.
Right.
And people were a little more open. And the ones that got it, they got it, and they shared. And what we found over time, Jeremy, was that the people that didn't want to share didn't have that much to share anyway.
Well said. Well said. One of the things I've always admired about you, and that when I talk to people like Mike Bausch and Tony Gimignani and Chris Bianco and influential pizza makers, they talk about your compassion, you being a great human being and good to other people, but your willingness to share and to help others. And I think that's part of what makes this industry so great is, yeah, some of the old Italian guys just slam the door in your face when you ask how you tie a garlic knot. But by and large, this industry, we will share with one another. And you were really one of the first ones out there on a massive scale to share. Why was that important to you?
Not completely altruistic reasons. I felt that if I shared, other people would share. That was part of it.
Hmm.
And also, it's like, do you have to keep starting from ground zero? Does everybody have to start from ground zero? Can't you learn from what other people did wrong or right and take that and give yourself a jumping off point? Is it really realistic that some guy who owns a pizzeria on a dead end street in Brooklyn and is never going to expand is going to really have to worry that somebody in Ohio might have his secret recipe for pizza sauce? Can you keep those in the modern era? Can you keep those things secret? And are they worth keeping secret? They're not. If you want something to thrive, if you care about the industry beyond yourself, or what I'm going to talk about in my keynote, going from me to we. If you really care about this industry, you share your ideas.
I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned your keynote. The 40th anniversary of Pizza Expo is coming up in just a few short weeks. And we just really thought there was no one better to deliver the keynote address than yourself. You've done
Or at
so
least
much
no
for
one
this
no one
industry.
available, maybe.
Well, John, we called about 30 people and they all said no. And finally you
Of
said
course, I know that.
no,
When
you know,
somebody
so
calls me
so
when somebody calls me to ask me anything, the first thing I think of is, why did Tony turn these people down?
well, Tony was last year, right? No, so the honest truth, John, was about
Yeah, but
two
he
or
was so good you
three.
could bring him back every year, right?
That's right. So 2 or 3 years ago, we were getting ready to call you and ask you to do a keynote, and then I had a light bulb moment in my head, and I said, "Whoa, hang on. We're only a couple of years away from the 40th. Like John, we need to save John for the 40th. Well, John doesn't need to do the 37th or 38th. 40 is a big deal. John's a big deal. Everyone in this industry loves you, and you're humble, and you're just gonna say, yeah, whatever. But John's a big deal. And we said, hey, the 40th. Let's ask John for the 40th. And I was so glad when you responded back and said, okay, I'll figure this out. I'll do this. Sure. I was so happy to hear that. What are you going to talk about at this keynote address? Let's not give everything away, right? We want people to show up, and I know the room's going to be packed, but just a little teaser.
Naturally, I'd like to talk about the history of Expo and how I've seen it evolve over the years, and from its original, how it's refined its original purpose and zeroed in on it, and how it's been both a reflection of what's going on in the industry and also a catalyst for what's going to happen in the industry in the future. And that's a large part of it, and really about how it's so vital for us to interact. What makes Expo different than any other trade show,
Mm-hmm.
and why it's so valuable to be there. And a lot of the things that we take for granted now weren't weren't the norm 35
Mm-hmm.
years ago or 40 years ago when Expo started. There was that vision that Jerry Darnell had, but making that a reality, I think people don't realize what it took to make that actually happen, and what the initial response from certain sectors of the pizza industry
Mm-hmm.
were. And things that we see at Expo now that we think of as being ordinary, or really anything but, or
Mm-hmm.
anything but the norm. And mainly, just like our pizzeria is not a museum. We're not in this. Our pizza industry is not a nostalgia act. We have to. Yes, we want to look back at the past, but we also want to learn how the past informs the present, and how the past informs the future. And how do we use that? How do we take the things that we learn from Expo and turn them into something of value for our industry, for our individual businesses, for the world at large? There's so much more possibility there that's yet to be explored. So
It's amazing. What
I
year
want
did
to
you
talk.
open Metro Pizza, John?
Metro Pizza opened 1980, June 1st, 1980, Sunday, 11 a.m.
So you have owned a pizzeria since 1980, and as opposed to being bored and tired and ready to play golf, you're still looking for ways to drive forward.
It's such a fascinating industry. It's so complex. I don't know how anybody could. If you say you're bored, you just gave up trying.
Mm-hmm.
How could you get bored with this when it changes every day? When it there's something new to learn every day. It's something that's impossible to master. You couldn't even master the current body of knowledge, but that body of knowledge is being added to by great pizza makers every day. So even if you were just trying to keep up, let alone gain on it, it would be impossible to get bored unless you just gave up trying to explore. Either that, or you're so incredible that you have nothing else to learn. But I haven't met that person yet.
I haven't met that
And
person.
if there is such a person, he'd be in San Francisco, and his name would be Tony Gemignani.
I was gonna say you're the closest, and yeah, Tony's pretty close too, I guess. Yeah, right. Tony's pretty close, but wow. So I was watching a television show recently, and they were interviewing some pretty high level chefs in fine dining restaurants, and it was funny because they were asked some really just random off the wall questions, a lot of different angles. But they were all asked, if you're on death row and you're getting ready to be served your last meal, what would it be? And I thought it was going to be all these really high end dishes, and a surprising amount of them said a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that stuck with me. And it made me wonder, because you serve various styles of pizza. If you could only eat one slice, one style of pizza for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
That's a tough question.
I know.
Really limiting me there. It would depend on, probably, when you ask me, it would probably depend on what time of year it was, and what was grabbing me at that moment. But I think, I think a great artisan version of a New York style pizza would probably be my go-to. Something that had the characteristics of an artisan pizza, but uh, in a New York style format. And that might just be because that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, that cognitive uh, theory of shaping your pizza identity. But I don't know, you really got me on that one, Jeremy. I wasn't ready for that.
Do you have a favorite style? So
What
obviously
style?
you grew up on New York style and you love New York style. Um, when we're talking about hands in the dough making the pizza, do you have a favorite style that you like to make, just because maybe, I don't know, it's therapeutic, it's more fun, or it's more challenging, or whatever. What do you enjoy making the most?
The Sicilian pizza that Chris and I developed together is probably my favorite for a lot of reasons, including the fact that we developed it together.
Yeah.
You know, working with Chris.
Yeah. I was fortunate
So
enough, not long before COVID shut everything down. It was December of 2019. I was fortunate enough to visit you at Pizza Metro and get photographs and information for an article. And you and Chris made me many pizzas, but you made me your Sicilian pizza that you developed together. And to this day, I tell everyone that I've never had a better Sicilian pizza in my entire life. That is a thing of absolute beauty. So I can see why it's your favorite pizza to make.
it's the detail process, the feel of extending the dough, coaxing, trying to coax, which is what we do it with our pizza, we do it with our businesses, we do it with our lives. We try to coax everything out of it that we can possibly get. And to me, that pizza embodies that. What can
Mm.
I do with these ingredients to bring out the best in each one of them? What can we do with each of our employees, each of our friends, each of our family, bring out the best in them?
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about the way you've seen the pizza industry change since 1980, or even before 1980 when you were a kid in New York? The changes have been pretty massive, but what sticks out to you as far as the bigger developments over the last 40, 50 years?
The biggest development for me was the growth of some of the regional styles beyond their traditional borders.
Mm,
The fact that it became possible because of this international exchange of ideas and also the international exchange of ingredients and technology, it became possible to do a very high quality version of just about every regional pizza, no matter where you're located. So if you want to do New York, if you're really serious about doing New York style pizza and you live in Karachi, Pakistan, you can do it
hmm
now, which was impossible when I was growing up. New York pizza was New York pizza because that was what was available in New York. Those ovens, those tomato products, that cheese, that flour, et cetera, et cetera. And the ability to be able to go to Expo, for example, and say, you know what, I want to do a really, really true Roman pizza. How do I get the stuff to do that?
hmm
The knowledge to do it, the equipment to do it, the ingredients to do it, develop the skill sets to do it. You can access all of those things. You go to Expo and you can access all of those things and go to Australia and make a great Roman pizza. Go back, go to Canada and make a great Detroit pizza. All of those things are possible now, which were not possible when I was coming up. You made Chicago style pizza in Chicago because that was the flour that was available. That was the ovens that were available. Those were the cheeses that were available.
hmm
You made New York style pizza because we were in New York and that's what was available. Now you have this almost limitless toolbox to work with. And you can make a conscious decision. I'm in Phoenix, but I want to do New York style pizza. I can do that. I want to do Detroit style pizza. I'm in New Mexico, but I want to do Neapolitan style pizza. You can do that. And you can do a really great version of it.
I love that. And I love that it has evolved that way. I was talking to someone the other day and I was mentioning that we did an industry report where we polled readers, and I believe I'd have to look it up to get it correct. I hope I'm not wrong here. I think 68% said that they offer more than one style of pizza in their shops now. So that's two-thirds. So if you're not offering more than one style of pizza, you're now in the minority. And it certainly wouldn't have been that way back in the day. And that's refreshing to, and I, as a consumer, I expect that now. If I walk into a
Right.
pizzeria, I expect to see a Detroit and maybe a grandma or a Sicilian in a New York, and that's when I don't see it, I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm a little surprised.
So when my partner and I conceptualized Metro Pizza, the idea was there's great pizza in many metropolitan areas.
hmm
Let's do something that would approximate and be familiar to people that are visiting from those areas or have heard about the pizza in those areas somehow. So that was the original idea, which is basically what Tony Gemignani did, but on a much more advanced level
Sure.
by the time he was doing it. But this was
Mhm.
we thought up the idea for that place in 1984. So that idea of having pizzas from different cities, representative of different cities, we weren't able to do it to the minutest detail the way Tony eventually did it, but the nucleus of the idea was there.
Sure.
That's why it was called Metro Pizza, Metropolitan Pizza, any metropolitan area, not New York pizza, not Boston pizza, not San Francisco pizza, but something
Mhm.
that encompassed all of that. And it was a way of respecting and creating awareness and creating discussion and also creating a relationship of respect with the people that came from those areas and had worked hard and were proud of what they
Mhm.
were doing. So we didn't want to go out there and say, no, New York pizza is the only valid expression of pizza, or Neapolitan pizza is the only.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, they definitely made huge contributions, but every pizza that you love, every pizza that you share with your family, every pizza that you shared with your friends after a baseball game, they're all valid. They're all valid because they touch you in a way that is what makes pizza so special. A communal trait of whatever it is that you have.
Absolutely. It is the communal food. As you said, it's the food after the baseball game. It's the food at birthday parties. And there's a reason for that. It is communal, and we're a communal industry. I can't wait to hear your keynote address. I know that the house is going to be absolutely packed. I've for geez 5 months now. I've been getting messages and texts to my phone from Tony Gimignani, Mike Bausch, Will Grant, a lot of people saying, "I'm so excited for John's keynote address. I can't wait. I cannot wait." So there are a lot of love. There's a lot of love out there for you, John. I always say personally that you were Tony before there was a Tony. Unfortunately, there was no internet in your no. There was no internet in your day. Had there been internet in your day, had there been internet in your day, yeah, you were the first. You were the original Tony Gimignani, and everybody knows that. And I know the reverence and respect you have for Tony, and that's a two-way street. I will tell you that when we announced you as the keynote speaker, the very first message I got was a text message to my cell phone from Tony saying, "Oh my God, I am so excited for this." That was the first message I got. So everyone's going to turn out for you. I think you're going to feel the love. I'm really excited to see what you have to say. And I know that that's probably a busy week for you because not only you're preparing to deliver a keynote and some other things at Pizza Expo, but you won't get much sleep because I know your phone rings off the hook. Everyone's in town and they want to come by and hang out with you at Metro and all that good stuff. So you better start sleeping now and get some rest.
I slept through half of this conversation.
I didn't mean to bore you that much.
Yeah. No, of course, uh, I feel it's great to feel that, love and feel that people are interested in what I'm doing or what I've done. But the reality is, I'm a reflection of what I think people respond to me because I'm exactly like everybody else. Tony is revered because there's only one Tony. My God, there's nobody like him. There's nobody that can do everything that he can do on that level. That's extraordinary level. With me, it's almost the opposite. There's everybody like me. Everybody is like me. I'm the same as every other pizza guy. What's so special about me? Nothing. I do the same things that everybody else does every day. And I think that, it's relatable because it's like, yeah, for one thing, it's reassuring to people. It's like if that guy could survive, then I definitely can. But also, I think it's also it's reaffirming that there's somebody out there that maybe gets noticed a little more because for a variety of reasons beyond my control. But I think the reality is that there's a lot of people just like me that are doing great stuff, that are working hard with their families side by side. I'm still working with my dad. There are people that I talk to so many people that say, I did exactly what you did my whole life. And it's like, yeah, I know what it's like. And I'm there every day.
Well, your humility speaks for itself, and that, my friend, is why you are so loved. And I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot to do. I'm grateful and thankful for the time you gave us to be on the podcast today. I'm really excited about your keynote address. And you know what? Thank you for being you. And I cannot wait to hear your keynote in Vegas.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Take
Take
care.
care, my friend. Bye bye.